right now with Prepare to Go There. It's a coaching conversation to help you stay focused on your future and then figure out how to lead yourself there tactically day by day. And today is super important, kind of like the crescendo of this week-long conversation we're having about lifestyle leadership, leading from a relational standpoint instead of just a traditional standpoint. And it's all about teams and leaders building teams with this new operating system. So jump on, watch the replay, ask a few questions, join the conversation. Gotta go.
In 1,000 feet, use the right two lanes to keep right.
Hey friends, it is Thursday. Let's see, August 19, 2021. Welcome to Prepare to Go There. You know, I realized that I leave my mic running during the intro, and I've been wanting to give a call to action for people who are, on social media. And so I think it's picking up in the recording. So anyways, I'm going to work on that. I'm working on a lot of things, but that's why I'm still here and ready to have a great conversation with you today. Welcome back to the Future Frontier, where we are learning how to stay focused on the future and then figure out how to pioneer our way there tactically day by day. My name is Peter. It is so much fun going on this extended coaching journey with you. And I'm just calling friends and leaders to put in the necessary yet unnoticed preparation. I'm convinced that our future deserves our focus today. And the future is not going to pioneer itself. We have to develop self-leadership. And that's just one part of your leadership journey. First, you lead yourself, then you lead others, then you lead through others. But it's kind of the fault line in the leadership space. A lot of people jump this, or they talk about it a little bit and then they move on thinking that you're just going to do this on your own. And I think we need to start a whole conversation, a whole culture, a whole ethos, a whole movement around people that are willing to play the long game with intentionality and integrity, because the future really does depend on a whole lot of leaders stepping up and making a difference, going the distance. I have learned from experience and observation that most people, they don't know how to lead others into a better future. And that's kind of an indictment. But the reason I say that is because they didn't learn how to lead themselves into that better future first. We don't learn this. This isn't a class. It's not in college. These life skills, these life principles are not obvious. They should be common, but now for some reason they are not. And it's kind of good news for us, because if we will just take the time to digest them, we will have an amazing advantage into the future. And I think we need a whole new breed of leaders that are leaning forward towards the future and not leaning backwards. And there are two different dispositions, right? You have a past present mindset, or you have a future present mindset. And we need leaders that are going to be forward thinking, and not just, quote, future friendly, but really future focused. And that makes a big difference. So that is the call to action. I keep showing up daily because I'm committed to help emerging leaders work on themselves. So that way, when they show up ready. They don't need a lot of hand holding. They're going to be helping, leading, serving, doing the work that's they're being called into. So this is a call to action to focus practically on the future and then lead yourself there tactically day by day. We talk a lot about self-leadership. We talk about things like productivity and mindset and worldview and, all of the daily stuff, the basic borings, the fundamentals, the things that it just takes time to work on. And I'm not here to lecture anybody. I'm not here to nag on anybody. I'm just here to keep you company, because most emerging leaders, they don't feel like they're being graded for the growth that could, should, would be happening underground. And so it just creates this dark undercurrent of procrastination. And we feel that we are justified and we don't have to develop ourselves relationally, personally, internally. And so what happens is you have a lot of people that are actually climbing ladders and they're ascending into leadership roles by virtue of their time, their tenure, their teamwork, whatever. But when they actually get in these high pressure environments, they are cracking, they are breaking, they are fractured because they didn't do the necessary preparation up front. And so I think if there's any superpower that I could give you, if there's any gift, I could send you off into your quest in Middle Earth, as you go into Mordor, I would give you the power of preparation, a lifestyle of preparation, because it's going to ground you today, but it's going to grow you again and again until you show up with a momentum that is unstoppable. So if this resonates with you, I would love to invite you into the Future Friends email community. There are quite a few friends and leaders that I've come across, and you all are inspiring. You inspire me, and so I hope that these conversations help you just keep being awesome. Future Friends are getting weekly emails of all of this content, the blogs, the vlogs, the live streams, and it's kind of all getting into a neatly packaged bundle. I call it a roundup. And then the Future Friends are getting the information and incentives for soon coming coaching projects, coaching products that I'm really looking forward to. And it's not glamorous. I enjoy what I do, and I'm making some great value for you. And they both have to happen at the same time. I talked, I think 2 days ago, about developing a multifaceted focus. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm practicing that. And I'm very thankful that the end result is going to be some really cool coaching courses that you can run with for 2022. Before that, though, there is something really cool coming up. If you notice, this is episode 44. This is the 44th checkpoint in this extended coaching journey. And we're getting close to 50. So I want to celebrate the 50th with a giveaway of sorts. So I want you to get ready for that. And I will definitely need your help to spread the word, let people know that Prepare to Go There is happening, and we want them to be a part of it. I'm thinking of some big ways I can celebrate the 50th, and I'll let you know what we decide, my wife and I. But get ready, because the 50th is coming next Friday, not tomorrow, but next Friday. So that'll be really cool. I want to give you a gift. It is a free fail-proof planning guide. If you are new to this channel, you're new to this coaching journey, this is going to help you get started and get better. It's going to give you a proven step-by-step planning process to help you look out at the horizon of your calendar and not go crazy, but actually take charge, get engaged with the planning process. And what it's done for me is it's helped me look out and feel less fragile and to actually think more agile. I can adapt, I can improvise. I don't feel boxed in to doing things one certain way, but now I have the mindset and the skill sets to help me really navigate and better negotiate the choices and changes that come up. And that's what I want to give you. It's going to help you go through the high-level goal setting, work through some rhythms, build it into some routines, and then you will be pioneering. So get after it, and it'll give you a flavor for some of the things we like to work on here. Let's get into today's conversation. It is so important, and we need to double down because lifestyle leadership is designed to develop you as a person so that way you can bring more value into your team. I'm not just talking about how to be awesome at home. I want you to show up next level and lead on another level for others. And so self-leadership, yes, it's a lot about, the approach that you're going to employ personally, but it's also about how you're going to be a better leader and develop teams. And that's actually a whole nother space of leadership that we can talk about. I'm super excited. My wife, Sarah Joy, and I are launching a project called Pioneer People. And that's going to be about entrepreneurship and helping emerging leaders with their brands, with their teams, their businesses, and to do so with a really unique and needed perspective. But I want to kind of tease that conversation here on Prepare to Go There, because many of you are already in leadership roles. You say, hey, Peter, you've been talking a lot about, leading from a relational space, not from just my position, my title. What do I do when I have the title? And what I say is you need to steward the title, but realize that it's just like your hat. You take it on and off. It is, it's not a part of you. It is not you. It is not connected to you. You were given it and you will give it away. And so don't marry one job, one title, one role, just because you're good at it or even because you're invested in it. You're going to have to hold your positions loosely. You have to hold the roles that you're working with in your team space with open hands, and to really just approach it more humbly and say, this was given to me and I'm going to have to give it away at some point. So it's not like, stair stepping where like, hey, I'm just doing this for a little bit and then I'm going to, blast off and do something bigger and better, because you can have massive impact today. In fact, you should be leveraging your lifestyle to grow your team, grow your community in amazing ways. But I want to give you some ideas that you can begin to deploy into the small group of people you're working with on a weekly basis, and then even begin to export that into your culture. We have to start leading from a new point of view. We can't be doing this pyramid scheme approach where there's just this vague hierarchy of, levels and clearances, and it's very bureaucratic and overpowering, and it gets bogged down, and resources are, kind of cloak and daggered, and you don't know how things really get done, and you're not given access where the action is really happening. And people don't want to live like that. They don't want to be treated like that. And we definitely don't want to lead like that as individuals. So how do you create a new culture? How do you get started? And the first thing I would say is it's very simple. Treat people the way you want to be treated, right? That's the golden rule. There's similar versions of that in other cultures and worldviews, but man, that is so baseline. Treat other people the way you want to be treated. And I was thinking of you, Sarah, but I know you're doing okay now. Treat other people the way you want to be treated. And for me personally, when I think about productivity in my team, there's two metrics that I'm using on a personal level, just as a contributor. I'm a team player. I'm a team builder. I want to do really good at these two things. And I want to stay focused by doing these two things again and again. These are not tasks that I, check off and move away from. These are not, systems that I build and then delegate. These are habits. These are values that I want to embed into my own weekly workflow. And hopefully it becomes a bigger, better part of my own working professional reputation. So here they are. You ready? Be present and be prepared. Be present and be prepared. Those are the two workplace habits that I want to be practicing again and again. I want to get better at them. I want to, 1% better every day. Be present and be prepared. And if I'm just convinced, I've boiled all of these leadership books. I've boiled down all of these seminars and courses and classes. And, just from my experience, you may not know my context or my background, but I've been raised in a family of leaders. I've been around leadership culture for a long time, both in ministry and in organizational nonprofit spaces. Been around a lot of people, a lot of different kinds of people. Been learning really since I was like a preteen. But I boil all that down just to say, and I say that not to brag, I say that to make this next point potent and to say, hey, I'm giving you a huge shortcut. I've gone the long way so you can find the shortcut. Boil all of that down. Be relational. Be relational. I will always bank on relationships. I will always invest in the people on my team, the people I'm working with, the people I'm working for. And I realize that trust is irreplaceable. And so when you say something, you got to mean it. You got to follow through. You have to have personal integrity. You have to have professional integrity. And the way I heard it was described to me by a great church in Dallas, the Village. And one of the leaders there said, personal integrity says, I am who I say I am. In other words, you don't have to wonder if I'm the kind of person I'm projecting. I'm not faking this. I am who I say I am. But professional integrity is a little different. It is, I will do what I say I will do. And that is next level. And teams will always find themselves in this weird tug-of-war match. The tug-of-war match is between relationships and results. Relationships and results. Man, these are the two kind of working dynamics in a team culture. And you can go through a season and maybe you just have a culture that will default on relationships. In other words, you have a value for, tenure, you have a value for open communication, or you have a value for loyalty, or you have a value for helping each other out. And maybe you use a lot of like family language, like, hey, this is our company family, this is our staff family, and all that. And that's cool. And I would think that probably happens more in the nonprofit space for sure. But it's because you have this huge value for relationships. And that's very good unless and until it overpowers the other side of the spectrum, which is results, right? You got to have results. You have to have revenue. You have to hit your goals. You have to be moving forward. You have to communicate vision to other people and then execute on it. And then you have on the other end, which probably is happening more on the for-profit side. Generally speaking, you have people, man, they are just all about the results, and they're just pushing pedal to the metal, and they're like 10xing, no, 100xing. They're all about hustle culture. They're all about getting things done. They have this massive appetite for action, and that's amazing. But a lot of people get burned out by that. In fact, I saw one study from a website, I think somewhere. But if you go to a website called Google and then type this in, I'm sure you'll find it. But it was a crazy statistic that like over 50%, and I want to just kind of go on a limb here, and I think it was more like in the neighborhood of 70 or 75% of people in the workplace, particularly millennials, they are not quitting their jobs, they're quitting their boss. They're quitting their boss, not their job. That is a huge distinction, because what it says is, hey, I'm down with getting results, but the way you're treating me in this work environment is burning me out. And I'm not going to put up with a toxic relationship, even if I'm getting results, even if our company is getting results, even if our ministry is getting results. And I really believe that the relational dynamic is so important. I was listening to another great leader, John Bevere, and he was talking in just a kind of a short little blurb about the difference between a pyramid, like a pyramid scheme, versus an empowering culture. And he talked about, life-giving versus life-draining, which was a cool point in and of itself. But whenever you think of a toxic team, a dysfunctional team, or a backwards team, they're not doing it right. Maybe they're looking impressive. Maybe they're getting, results. But what's missing is that lifestyle leadership piece. And what happens is it's this top-down, institutional, hierarchical. Many times it's just this centralized command and control, heavy-fisted. It's kind of like the Star Wars, empire. And it doesn't have to be that, that nefarious. It might be a little more benevolent, but it still has all of those characteristics, and which is a unique insight in and of itself. But whenever you're in that model, it becomes very overpowering, and people are being used to forward the project, the mission, the organization. In other words, people are the temporary, and the project, the mission, the organization, whatever, is the ultimate goal. And so we're literally going to just turn and burn more and more people. And it's okay, because, we don't really bring in unique and needed people. We just fit very standardized profiles. And as long as you can fit in to this thing, then, we can keep going about with our day. And it's really the opposite when you think about empowering your team culture, realizing that every person is unique and needed. And it doesn't mean that you have to just bring anyone on board. You have a choice. You want the best. You're going to filter, train, trust, track, all of that. But the point is, we actually believe the team, the project, the organization is a means to develop world-class leaders and to form legendary partnerships that are going to go far beyond the season, the project, the organization we're in. Like for me, the win is that I have friendships and partnerships that are going with me into the future. And so it can look like a variety of, relationships. It might be a mentoring relationship where you were the student for a while and they were a teacher for a while, and you're learning, you're gleaning, you're leaning into what they're saying, and eventually just through the change of life, you're in a new season, you're in a new chapter of life. They're not in this obvious teacher role, you're not in this obvious student role. Now you're more like allies, partners, you're just on the same page. There's no organizational thing that says I have to do your homework or I have to, do the job in order to get the paycheck. Like there's none of that there happening anymore. Now it's just two people that know each other that had some work experience together. But if we do it right, there's going to be some common ground that continues beyond the lifespan of that job. And I think where a lot of leaders can miss it is they become short-sighted on a long-term vision. And they think that this epic master plan is the only thing that everybody else is going to be a part of. And it may be your lifelong commitment, but it's definitely not everyone else's lifelong commitment. Some people will come into your team for a season, for a reason. And you have to identify that. And you can't assume that everyone's going to be on the same path as you, that everyone's making the same commitment as you. And vice versa. You may be on a team in an organization for a season, for a reason, and you can't, look to that organization or that leader and think that, man, this is it. I've made it. I've arrived. I'm here forever. Like, are you okay with leveling up and going where you feel a sense of calling next? And so whenever we get too short range or too nearsighted, and we think that what we're doing is all we're going to be doing, it can justify some dysfunctional interactions, some dysfunctional associations. And I think if you're investing in the relationships while you're getting results, you're just going to be winning, all over the place. And so treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't overpower people with a lot of position and hierarchy. Really try to build camaraderie and consensus, and you'll have different kinds of relationships in the workplace, mentoring, peer-to-peer. Maybe you're leading and you have other people on your team, or maybe you're a teacher and they're the apprentice. And so just realizing that the people that are elevated right now, they're going to need your help one day. They're going to need you to be a strength to them the way they've been a strength to you. And so out of gratitude for the way they led you really well in the past, now you're going to step up and continue to lead well in the present and in the future. And you can kind of remember the investments, and you say thank you, and you do things out of respect and reciprocation. And so that's an awesome, healthy ecosystem there. And then you also have other instances where you're leading people and you say, hey, I realize that they're getting on board with my plan, my project today, but it's just because it's a season, it's a reason. So I don't want to mistake my rapport with them. I don't want to act like they're really going to, keep this up. How do I continue to stay mission minded, but also build relationships that will carry into the future? And so, like, just being able to turn the work switch on and off whenever you're interacting with your team, try to interact with them in multiple spaces of life. So you're not just talking about work stuff. You're not just talking about personal stuff. You can talk about hobbies. You can talk about worldview. You can talk about a lot of different things. Try to develop well-rounded relationships with the people you interact with. And I'm not talking about people that you just pass, on the way to get your orders or your paycheck. I'm saying the people you're going to be interacting with. One thing that has become increasingly difficult is in a remote work environment, the only time you see people is on a computer, right? Whether it's some sort of video chat or email, or, we're just seeing little glimpses of people, and it's not even them. It's their avatars, it's their pictures and their texts and their copies and their PDFs. And so, like, you're going to have to be more intentional about being relational in an online environment as you are in person. You can't just assume that you're going to have access to them. And so you have to be more proactive about making moments that actually pull the team together, that build trust, and that help each other on the journey. Because without that relational connection, without that sense of shared collaboration, you're not going to get results. You're just not going to have that. And the team itself will fail as an experiment because it is working off of a broken model. It's working off of that upside down pyramid building scheme where it's just a bunch of, important people, so to speak, on top, just kind of pushing stuff down and then staying distant from the front line. That's not the way to do it. I say it jokingly, I say it a bit more facetiously, but I've said, if you want to be in charge, you have to lead the charge, right? You have to be on the front line. You have to be as close to the people that are doing the action, doing the thing. And I get that kind of breaks some of this find your high value stuff, and you have to do the 20-80 rule and all that. That's fine. I'm all for efficiency and saving time and delegating well. But remember where we're starting. We're starting on a long, long leadership journey that looks like leading yourself, leading others, and then leading through others. So we're not even there. We're not even talking about that, whatever you're thinking that is. And it's not a pet peeve, but it's definitely a concern of mine that people are just pushing that stage of life and leadership way too much, way too soon. And there's like a whole group, there's a whole category of leaders that are entering the workforce, or they're entering, this generation, and they don't have that underground growth, that root structure that's going to keep them grounded, that's going to help them stay stable long term, because they didn't see it in action. They didn't see it modeled. They didn't learn this intentionally. And if they're picking it up, they have to do it intentionally on their own. And, maybe they're getting a lot of good information through TED Talks and online and all that. But where do you actually go to like an old school apprenticeship where you can learn soft skills and hard skills that are going to make you a better person while you're becoming a better leader? So you got to empower a relational approach. And I got to just brag on my wife, Sarah Joy, because I think she is literally one of the best leaders I have ever met. And I mean, thankfully, I fell in love with her before I saw her leadership in action, because otherwise I would have been totally intimidated. And I don't know if it would have worked out. But I think I was just already soul set on marrying her, that I just kind of threw myself into it. And then I saw how amazing she was, and it was just more, affirmation, confirmation to, to keep pursuing her. But she has an amazing backstory to what she's doing today. And when I would see her leading teams of people in high pressure, high volume environments, it was inspirational. And I was so blown away by how personable she was with her team. And it was no dichotomy for her to like just basically breathe fire on her team in the heat of the moment, and then at the end of that shift, she would brag on them. She would affirm them. They were laughing together. They were stronger together. And that kind of like threw me off, because I had kind of been living in this dichotomy of, you don't want to go too hard on people because we value the relationship way, way more. But at the same time, we're not willing to say tough things and get results and make sure that we're actually developing, more competent people. And that's not a dig, because you just have to understand my context. We were working with a lot of young people, right? A lot of students, and more of an entry level context. But when you're building a championship level team, a team that's going to champion, where you're going, who you're becoming, you don't have time to beat around the bush. You have to go straight for the results. And if you survive that gauntlet, you're going to be closer because of it. When you're in the fog of war and you make it through together, you become the band of brothers. You become the brothers in arms. You become the family over time. You are forged into that closeness, and that closeness cannot be artificial. It's definitely not automatic. So creating the space where you are able to be transparent, you're able to talk correctly and clearly, you're able to communicate both your expectations and your frustrations. You're basically just talking like adults in your team. That I think that's rocket fuel for your future. It's because you're not beating around the bush. You're saying, hey, I want this team to win. I want each of us to come out of this stage of life better. And, I hope that as we get through all of this, we will have stronger affinities. We will be, working on alliances for the next level. But, man, if you're just kind of ducking and dodging and not really being honest and upfront and letting people see who you are as a person, I just don't like pretending. I don't like people pretending at work. I don't like people pretending online. A lot of people hide behind their online life, or they hide behind their leadership personas. And it's okay for a while. And it may even mean well by it. But what happens over time is even they forget who they really are. They can't even decipher and kind of untangle all of these different, appearances, and that becomes exhausting. And then we have a whole culture of burnout because we're not really leading from a place of authenticity. We're not leading from a relational space. And so I'll finish with this. If you have questions, please bring it in. Put it in the chat. Let's talk about whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're working on. I definitely want to help you and encourage you and equip you for your teams, because what we're doing today is all about winning the team and taking territory with the team. So I'm not just about you feeling better about yourself if your work life is suffering. You need to be crushing it in your workplace, whether you're a shift manager, whether you're a volunteer coordinator, whether you're, software developer, whether you're working at a junior high, whether you're an author, whether you're a motivational coach, whatever you're doing, man, you need to be leveling up. You need to be skilling up, because for the sake of those relationships, they're not going to be able to sustain so much low-level drama or ongoing trauma. They're just not going to put up with it. They're not going to keep up your issues. And so you really do have to be present for them, because that's focusing on the relationship side. But then you also have to be prepared. That's the other end of the spectrum. That's you working towards those results, getting the results. And let me just land the plane. I'm going to insert from kind of my own context and worldview, but I think it applies really to a lot of different industries and contexts. But the goal of an empowering team, the byproduct of an empowering team culture, is not that everybody's just happy and everybody just stays on the team for a really long time. It's that we actually multiply and force multiply the team into more leaders. I'm so passionate about seeing teams multiply. And it's going to hit in a lot of different places and spaces, but there's a Bible verse in 2 Timothy 2:2, and it basically brings out this principle, this amazing leadership principle, where the leader in this letter, who's writing this letter, his name is Paul, he's writing to someone on his team named Timothy, and he says, hey, I want you to do what I did. I was modeling to you leadership, and I was giving you everything that was given to me, and I did it in a group environment. I did it in a relational and dynamic environment. And so you were there, they were there. I gave you everything I got. Now I want you to turn around and intentionally invest in other leaders relationally. And interesting, in that language, he talks about faithful, look for faithful people, which I think is so important, because we got so many flakes out there. We're literally wasting time on people that don't care. And so we have to really raise the threshold of character and competence and quit going off of politics and chemistry and whatever. We have, each one of us have a job to do, and we have to stay mission minded. And if all we're doing is just trying not to, tick people off, we're literally losing in our life's work. And so anyways, it creates this multiplication pattern. It's Paul says, hey, Timothy, find faithful men who will turn around and train others also. And so in our context and what we do, we coach a lot of leaders to think generationally. And by generationally, I just mean you're thinking about downstream, down the line, like who's next. And if you don't have that perspective in your leadership pipeline, if you're not thinking downstream about who you're developing and how you're deploying teams to become leaders, you're not even playing the right game. Like, you're not even in this thing to win. You're just trying not to lose, or you're trying not to lose your position. You're trying not to lose your power. You're trying not to lose your reputation. But man, it's not worth it in comparison to the mission that is bigger than all of us, of developing these leaders so that way they can thrive. And we as team builders are not successful unless and until we step away and we actually see the team thrive without us there. That's when we're winning. So I think there's just like a value system here. And when you're feeling the freedom and the rush of empowerment, an empowered lifestyle, you're not trying to hold that away from other people. You want to give that to as many people as possible. And when you're living in that world and you're working with that framework, empowering other people will never take away from the empowerment you've been given, because they didn't give it to you and they're not taking it away from you. You're going to keep living as an empowered person, an empowered leader. You're going to keep living freely. And it's not a freedom just to, self-destruct and do whatever you want and just kind of like wreck your life because it's your choice. But it's a freedom that leads you into a productive and a fulfilled lifestyle. And so don't you want that for everybody? Don't you want everybody to live like that and lead like that? And when you do, you may lose a team member, but you can actually gain friends. You may lose people to work on your project or people to be in your department, but you'll actually gain valuable partners in the next level. And when you get in the arena of the next challenge, you're going to have allies, back to back with you that man, they're going to be rooting for you. They're going to be helping you and collaborating with you and cross-pollinating best practices that are working in their context, in their industry. And so it's just such a bigger game. It's so much more fun when you can just involve people into your work life and then you invest in them as individuals and you invest in the relationships and you invest in the team culture. So together you're getting results, and then you invite them to be a partner on a whole nother level. And you say, hey, I know you're going to go off and do awesome things. I'm okay with that. I want you to win. Like, I want you to thrive. You don't need me to be a winner. I know you're going to go off and do bigger and better things. I'm cool with that. I just want you to remember me so that way when we all move into the future and we don't know what this future looks like, we have shared values, we have shared language, we have shared best practices that we can keep running with together. And when you start thinking on that network level of empowered people, they're super grateful for you because you didn't just see them as a means to your own end. You saw the relationship as a greater value than just whatever the 9 to 5 was. And so if we're just like willing to give on that level, if we're leading that generously, we're giving of our time, we're giving of our knowledge, we're giving of our expertise, we're giving forgiveness, and we're covering, mistakes when and where we can. And we're building relationships that, actually want to get results together, then I don't see how you can lose. I think your long game only gets stronger that way. So much more that could be said, but I'm going to land the plane. I was thinking of about 4 or 5 different analogies, and then I was going to throw all the way back to, Survivor sitcom or reality show. And I was like, I'll stop there because I think I've made the big point. So if you appreciate this conversation and you're like, yeah, that's really good. Personally, I want to be more present. I want to be more prepared. So that way I am adding value to the relationships available in my team space. And I'm also contributing to get real results. And that's going to help us move forward together. Then I want you to share this with other people. If you're saying, hey, I really believe that, we need to be thinking bigger about the kinds of teams and industries and networks that we're creating. Let's be more relational. Let's be more generous. Then I want you to share this conversation. Let people know that there's a better way to lead. And we haven't figured it out, but we are going to work at it together. Here was the quote for the day. Legendary leader Patrick Lencioni says, "It's not finance, it's not strategy, it's not technology. Those are not the advantages. It is teamwork that remains the ultimate competitive advantage. Number one, because it's so powerful, and number two, because it is so rare." I think that sums it all up really well. Guys, keep empowering your team with a lifestyle approach. Don't bank on just the position that you or they may carry, but remember that they are people that are going to be in your future. So invest in them and you'll get big ROIs when you get there. There is a free fail-proof planning guide waiting on you. Just click the link at the bottom and it'll take you to a landing page, name and email, and you can get to work immediately. It'll help you get started, get better, and join the Future Friends, get on the email community. This is just literally one stop in a very, very long leadership journey. And I want to keep you company because you're doing a better job than you think. So keep up the great work. Remember, you are going places, and because of that, you better prepare to go there. I will be back tomorrow with Future Friday. I hope you are a part of it. You can listen in live tomorrow at 4 and drop in your questions because Future Fridays are all about helping the future friends work through whatever they are thinking through. I appreciate you. I value the time we're sharing together. Keep it up, and I will see you in the future.
In 1000